Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. My name is James Rink, and thank you for coming on here today and joining us. Another amazing show. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Nicole Aburey. How are you doing today? Did I get it? Did I say your name right?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for joining me. I know you've put together an amazing book. We're going to discuss about that in just a bit. And I just also want to thanks the audience members for joining us here on the live stream as well. So Nicole has had paranormal experiences her whole life, but it wasn't that. Okay, hold on a second. I'm just getting like some weird feedback. If maybe I can put my headset on. That's where I put those clunky your headpiece on. So I'm hoping I won't have to do that today, but let's go on here. So has had paranormal experiences her whole life, but it wasn't until after her Kundalini awakening in 2019 that she started having contact with ETs. In the fall of 2023, she was pulled out of her body and shown firsthand her involvement in the secret space program. Since then, she has had numerous memories flood back through the astral and out-of-body experiences. She's had vivid dreams and meditations and hypnosis sessions. So she has also recently wrote a book called Aburey Ascending about her experiences in detail. It's available on Amazon or for free via a Google Doc link. She is currently working on her second book. Okay, so yeah, the link is there. And there's also a link to contact Nicole if you like to. Also, let's see here. Today is April 6th. So in about 5 days, I will be presenting at the Sonesta Los Angeles Airport Hotel in Los Angeles, and the tickets are the Alchemy event. So you can go ahead. Or you can shoot me a message. Send me a message, please. Shoot me a message. Send me a message at info@supersoldiertalk.com, and I can put you on a list, and it'll be $100 to get in. I'll also be speaking at Spruce Pine Alien Festival, June 8th. Details are in the links in the description. And I'm excited to announce that Super Soldier Talk has its own conference. I know it's a small 2-day event, but there's lots of fun activities connected to it. So the link to that is in the description. And in my opinion, it's extremely affordable option for a fun celebration this summer. So that's in July. Okay, Nicole, let me mute this. So yeah, okay. I think good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on here. So wow. I guess we can maybe begin with how did so in 2023, that's when you realized you were in the SSP. So before that, you just probably knew what were you thinking about yourself?
I knew I was a starseed because I was pulled out of my body. I was on ships. I was in meetings. I had a telepathic conversation. So I definitely knew I was a starseed. But I had no idea that I was in the SSP.
Okay. So tell us what group in the SSP. Okay, I guess you didn't know specifics, but tell us what memories do you have in the SSP?
Okay, well, I'll start out like how I kind of woke up to this. I had been watching SSP stuff, and like I knew about Montauk already and MK Ultra since 2013, but in 2019 I found out about the secret space program, and I was like hooked. I was like obsessed. It's all I watched for the last like 4 or 5 years, but I never thought I was a part of it. I thought it was so fascinating. But I kept hearing like, oh, if you're interested in this stuff, you're probably a part of it. And I would like laugh. I'm like, no, I'm not. But then in about September of 2023, oh my God, I felt this like urge rush, like it's some kind of download from the universe. It was like, you need to take this seriously and like read books, like read everything you could possibly find on the SSP. So I did. I like bought so many books. And I was just like obsessed. Like that's all I did all day was just read. And it was your book, James, that really activated me. Like, oh my God, you were talking about like your childhood. And like I started remembering all this just real life memories. It started like real life memories of just really, really weird things, like the mental hospital, the murder down the road, these weird people at my school. And so I started like remembering that. I'm like, maybe there was something more to that. And then I was going through like paranoia. Like I had extreme paranoia, anxiety, was having like extreme vertigo and head pressure and chest pain and just paranoid about everything. And I believe now that those were body memories. Like I was getting the body memories coming back. Um, and then one night I was just like, I was so paranoid and I was so anxious. And I'm like, higher self. I'm like, you need to let me know. Like, you need to tell me, like, tonight, am I a part of this or not? Like, am I just going crazy? Give me a dream. And sure enough, that night, I had like an extremely, extremely vivid dream. And so then I'm like, okay, like maybe I am. And then I hired a remote viewer, a psychic. I got like a reading, and they were all confirming, yes, yes, you are. But it still didn't really like sink in yet. Like, until I was pulled out of my body and I was shown different things. So yeah, I don't have like a lot of details about every like the corporations and types of super soldiers and stuff like that, but I do know that I am a part of it.
Okay. Uh, can you give us an idea of what criteria would put you in the category of being in a secret space program, like symptoms, or yeah, what would you say to that, Nicole?
Well, I definitely have the symptoms of DID. Um, I was a very, even as a child, I was extremely intelligent. I was really good at sports too, like amazing. And it's kind of weird because like my family is not really into sports or really good at any of that. My family is actually really normal. But I, probably around the age of 10, it started, and I had really bad OCD. Like I started doing all these ritualistic behaviors. I had all these compulsions. It got so bad that I couldn't even go to school anymore. I developed eating disorders like at 10 years old. I had anger management problems. Um, uh, yeah, and then they said it was bipolar, and they later changed it to borderline personality, and they said I had Tourette's too, and they just, I don't know, I was diagnosed with so many things at 10 years old, and my family's normal, like they don't have anything wrong with them. I was also having like suicidal ideation and crazy anxiety and stuff like that. And then it got so bad I couldn't function anymore. So my mom took me to my doctor, and my doctor's like, I think we should commit her to a psychiatric hospital. So they did a few times. And yeah, I've discovered some things like knowing what I know now about SAR or yeah, SRA, sorry, MK Ultra Secret Space Program. Yeah. Yeah. It gets, yeah.
Oh, wow. So let's how about we go back a little bit? So can you tell us a little bit about DID, at least in your case? Tell us what do you think that actually means? What is actually taking place? And tell us a little bit some about your altars.
Yeah, so it was really interesting. I thought I knew what DID was. I had watched a couple of documentaries on it, but it wasn't until I started really deep diving into it. Like Elisa E, her book, Our Life Beyond MK Ultra, and some other books too. I realized, like, I used to think that it was okay. You have this front altar, and then you like black out or you lose time, and then another altar comes in, and then a few hours later you switch back, and then you're dressed differently, or people are like, oh, you were a different person, or things were moved around in your room or whatever. But I discovered that you can actually have multiple front altars. So you can have like two or three operating at the exact same time. You don't need missing time. You don't need to black out for a few hours. Like you can have both up front. And so that was really interesting to me. I also learned about altars that, especially like I was used in a lot of the like sex assassin and child sex slave stuff. And I had altars that were bulimic and altars that were anorexic, which kind of makes sense because you kind of have to keep a figure, when you're doing that stuff. You can also have obsessive compulsive altars, pretty much anything. You also get alters when you're starting to wake up. Like their only job is to stop you from waking up. So when you start to wake up to this stuff, it's like extreme paranoia. Like, oh my god, I'm like crazy, you know. So that alter is there to keep your other ones in line and to keep them from discovering any more, researching deeper. And yeah, there's just so much I thought I knew about DID till I did a deep dive. Um, yeah.
Okay, so before the age of 10, did you have this condition of DID, or did you display? How about, for examples, did you ever start speaking in another foreign language like German, and then yeah? What do you think about that?
Not like no, not like languages, but my mom used to say that I'd be like a perfect girl, like perfect child and everything like that. And then all of a sudden I would just go on a rampage and I would just start breaking stuff. I'd be jumping over the furniture. I'd be screaming, like just going mad. And she's like, it was so weird. She's like, you were perfect 1 second and then like going off the rails the next second. Um, yeah. So I guess there were signs like when I was younger. Um, yeah.
All right, so let's go into. Do you think that maybe um, based on what your description, you described you had a lot of out of body experiences. So it seems like you are what you would call maybe an organic portal where you are easily able to communicate with the spirit realm. Do you think perhaps you were channeling some kind of entity, or do you feel that was like your own? Because with DID, dissociative identity disorder, now they call it. Well, it used to be called MPD. Actually, there's a new name for it. Probably Nicole, you might. Nicole, do you know? Did you know it's been renamed?
No, I did not. What's it called now?
I don't remember, but I tell you what, I will do. I'll do a quick search. But yeah, can you comment about that? Do you think? I mean, have you been able to see into the spirit realm, so on?
Um, I know that I know that I'm followed around by demons. I just last week I had another experience. They typically take me in the astral and try to do stuff to me. So they've definitely been around my whole life. And that's another thing about DID is often they will pair you with a demon. Um, and then that demon is like it just kind of lives in you. It's part of your other altar. They'll pair that altar and that demon together, like a marriage. And that demon, their job is to keep that altar in check, but they can also keep your other altars in check as well. And they tend to follow you like your whole life. And their job is to reprogram and like re-traumatize you. Yeah.
Okay, there. Sorry, I like 20 buttons to pick. Okay, all right. Well, tell us about some of these experiences that you had with these entities and so on. Were you able to maybe ET? Yeah, described it. Do you have recall of being abducted as a child?
No, I don't remember any abductions as a child. I uh, I just used to see a lot of ghosts and a lot of shadow figures. I used to hear things all the time, like my name being called or the phone ringing and stuff like that. But that could also mean that I was just like clairsentient, clairvoyant, and all that stuff. But yeah, no, not as a child. Like I probably was, but it was wiped from my memory to not really confuse me or like scare me too much. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So tell us about any other weird paranormal experiences you had throughout, I guess, that early period of your life.
Okay. So um, I was, I don't know, I was 6 or 7 years old. I had my best friend over, and she was in my room. We were going to bed, so it was dark except we had a wood burning fireplace, and it was like the light from the fireplace was shining in my room in the corner of my room. So it wasn't completely pitch black, but I remember I was in the bed. My friend was just on a little mattress on the floor beside me. And I looked up into the corner of my room, which was lit up, and there was this black cloud. But like it was all like wispy around the edges, but it was black. and it was scary. And I was just like staring at it for a few minutes, like trying to figure out like what could this be. And I said to my friend, hey, do you see that? And then she looked at it and she got scared and she jumped into my bed with me, and then we just pulled the covers over our head and just never talked about it again. So stuff like that. I grew up in an old schoolhouse. It was a one-room schoolhouse, Catholic school. And I used to see a priest all the time, like the ghost of a priest walking along the deck a lot. And other people have seen him too. And so just like little things like that, and just like shadow people. And yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us give us a little background of what happened when you were 10 with, I mean, if you feel comfortable talking about the medical history, and what was it like being there? And do you feel like you, well, yeah, just go ahead. Tell us what you think about that.
The mental hospital, you mean? Okay.
Correct.
So, yeah, it was, I don't actually remember too much, but what I do remember is, so there's the hospital. It's called the Royal Ottawa Hospital in Ontario, Canada, in case anyone's wondering. There was the hospital, the main building, okay? And then on the hospital grounds, there were these cottages. I stayed in the Madawaska cottage, and it was kind of like a group home for the kids. So the kids lived there. Upstairs was the bedrooms and a boys' washroom and a girls' washroom. And then the main level, there was like a kitchen, a living room, a little tutoring station, an office, and stuff like that. So we had appointments like with our psychiatrist. I had a psychopharmacologist who I'll get to her in a second but anyway, so I lived at the cottage, but I'd have to go over to the main hospital for my appointments. So what they let me do is use the underground tunnels. So when you leave the cottage, it's like a really tiny building, like it's probably only 6 by 6, like so small. But you go into it and there's stairs going down. So I remember using the tunnels, and I remember what they looked like. There were doors all along the sides. There was piping up above, and it's so weird because that's kind of where the memory ends. Like I don't remember ever reaching my destination. Like I do remember some appointments. I probably had like hundreds of appointments, but like I don't really, it's like my memory all of a sudden gets really fuzzy. I do remember trying to open some of the doors because I was kind of like a rebellious kid, and I'm like trying to open some of the doors in these tunnels, but they were all locked. So it wasn't until recently that memories came back about what really happened in those tunnels. So I had one memory. They always took me when I was either on my way to an appointment or when I was sleeping. And these men would come, usually men would come and take me out of my bed. And it was so weird because they had this, like, I don't even know what it's called, but it's like a device that can like slow down time. Like it can like almost stop time. And they would take me out of my bed and they would take me into this building and in through the tunnels and into the rooms where they would torture me. So I would be drugged and assaulted and stuff like that. And I had this one memory of popping out of my body because just the torture was so bad. And I was exploring all the different rooms. There was one room with a very evil clown. It was a clown. It was scary. And he was torturing children. Like he was traumatizing the children in one of these rooms. And then they even had like padded rooms because they would try to like activate your abilities and stuff like that. And if they couldn't control the kid, they would throw them in this padded room. There was one memory of I used to be able to create tornadoes like with my mind. Like I used to make things spin. And so it kind of got out of control and they had to like stun me and drug me to make me stop. And they threw me in this padded room. And I was like livid. I was so angry. And they came in and I was able to also manifest things. Like I could manifest things out of thin air. And I was so mad and I just like wanted to die. They came in to give me a pillow. And I think the probably put more drugs in me. And I was able to like manifest knives in the pillow. I know it's really weird, but like I believed so much that there were going to be knives that they just manifested, and I took them out and I like cut myself up. And yeah, so that's one memory. Another one is they drugged me, put me in a room, and they had me like tied down to the bed, and there was like these like screens, like they would put screens and make me watch like horrific images and stuff like that. But yeah, the so the psychopharmacologist, her name was Dr. Flamand. She was actually from France. I remember she was had a funny accent. Um, and I also thought it was really strange because I kept being told over and over how special I was that I got to see her because she's so prestige, like she's the best. And like she only takes like a handful of kids, you know, and that I was so lucky to see her and that she was my doctor. And I remember even back then thinking that was so strange because I was with this girl, Elise. She also had OCD, and she was so much worse than me. Like she had to kiss everything. Like she'd walk into a room and have to get down on the floor and kiss the floor. Like if she looked at somebody, she'd have to kiss them. Like she'd have to kiss everything. And one time I asked her, like, what was the most disgusting thing you ever kissed? And she said, in the toilet, like everything in the toilet she has to kiss. So I'm like, this chick is so much worse than me. Like, why do I get to see this prestigious psychopharmacologist and, you know, the other girl doesn't? But yeah, and then I'll explain how I had out of body experiences, and she was there. But yeah.
Okay, let's. I'm gonna share my screen here, and tell me what do you think about this guy?
Oh yeah, Kevin Spacey. Yeah, I have not had any memories of him yet. Like mine are just starting to come in, but yeah.
Okay. Do you remember? Have you ever seen the Fringe TV series,
I've seen
Nicole?
a few episodes. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the compound called cortexiphan?
No.
Okay, so Monarch Solutions were giving children such as yourself that had manifestation abilities cortexiphan to enhance their abilities. So typically the drug became extremely addictive, and the people were essentially have to take it for the rest of their lives. But so it seems like they probably would have given that to you, and maybe high doses of extremely potent forms of DMT. Um, yeah, so I guess yeah, they were trying to utilize you for your soul's abilities. So I was just curious, was your family involved in these particular programs, maybe high up in the government, or what can you tell us about that, Nicole?
Um so I know my mom, she's worked a couple of jobs, but she's got like the security clearance, so she can't really talk a lot about it with me. I know she worked for General Dynamics before. And my dad, he would always tell me these stories of when he was a kid, and it wasn't until kind of recently that I started learning about satanic ritual abuse and MK Ultra that now I think my dad was a part of it. He was adopted, and he only remembers a little bit about his biological parents. He remembers being like 4 or 5 years old and like watching them like have sex. Like they would just have sex in front of all the kids. He said they were very abusive. They were drugs, alcohol, always. They would try to give the kids drugs and alcohol. And then they were taken away eventually by foster care. And my dad has a memory of being in a barn. He was locked in a barn as a child with his siblings, and he ended up getting flesh-eating bacteria, and he's actually missing the top of his ear. And then he has another memory of being in a pit full of snakes. He fell down a well, and he remembers being there for a couple of days with snakes all around him. Now, I was recently watching ex-Satanists and like Illuminati, you know, they escaped the whistleblowers, And I heard that that's actually a ritual that they do is they throw kids in pits with snakes and to kind of use them and traumatize them, you know.
Well, what
And
about
so
Nicole? What about a pit full of dead bodies? Do you recall that?
yeah, um, I don't have any memories of that. No, um, no.
It's just as well. Okay. Right. So let's see here. Um, so your family members were in these particular programs, and uh, so do you think they chose you because of that reason? Like your family sold you out, or do you think it's something maybe who you are on a soul level?
I definitely think it's a soul level thing. I think they've probably been watching my bloodline for a while. Like my dad's parents died before I was born. We don't really know much about them. Apparently, my grandmother was in Kingston Psychiatric Hospital too, and she got shock treatments there. So it's definitely a family thing, but I also think my soul came in to kind of heal this bloodline and to, you know, do all the ancestral work. I've done a lot of that to basically like not save this family, but kind of do a lot of healing in this particular bloodline.
All right. Well, so I guess you probably have some certain, I guess you can not only manifest, you're an empath and you have precognitive abilities. So do you remember opening any portals?
No, no, I don't. Um, yeah, maybe I have. I don't know.
Okay. And do you know how many years you served in the secret space program?
I'm not sure. I've had like remote viewers and psychics look into it, and apparently I was on a few 20 and backs. I do have clones because I have clone memories coming back to me now, and definitely alters. Yeah, I don't know how long, but it feels like a long time. I feel like I'm like 500 years old.
Yeah, I can imagine you probably served at least 100 years. So, what point do you think they actually took you? Like, have you ever made a timeline and like, oh, this is when things changed for me in my life?
Okay, so this is it's kind of hard to talk about, but when I was 3, like 2, 3 years old, I had nightmares about being raped with vegetables. And so I think that I was very young when this started. I was so young and I would just have these repetitive dreams. And I couldn't talk about them. Like I remember not being able, I didn't have the words, you know, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what rape was, you know. But I used to have nightmares about that. So I think that I was taken really, really young. I did have a remote viewer look into it, and she said, yeah, she said in the womb, they had the dark programs had abducted my parents and did something with my DNA back then. Like they used mixed my parents' DNA, but then extraterrestrial DNA and other things. So I think it was like, yeah, before I was even born is when it started.
Did you notice any huge changes in your life, maybe at the age of, say, 3 years old or seven?
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I remember becoming self-aware in kindergarten when I was 4 years old. Um, I remember sitting there in a circle, with other kids, and it was, like, getting to summertime. It was warm outside, all the other kids were in sandals, I was in running shoes, and one of the kids was like, "Hey, why don't you take off your shoes?" And it was like, I just became self-aware, and I'm like, I don't want to. And I like I remember being self-conscious. You know, I started uh like situational awareness. All of a sudden I was aware of like uh, the whole room. It was just like I don't know, it was really weird. And then yeah, that's when like kind of everything really changed. I also think that my school was in on this too because my kindergarten teacher knew that I loved cats, and she used to tell me really horrific stories about cats being mutilated and killed and torn apart and stuff like that. And like I was 4 and she was doing that. Yeah.
Hmm. I wonder if that's could be some of that could be like a cover memory for something even deeper. But do you have any memories of like electroshock treatments or any other forms of torture that they would have done to you?
Yeah, like in the mental hospital in one of those rooms in the basement, I do remember them shocking me over and over. I remember too that there was a room with a like a jump gate. So they took me in, and then it was in the closet. It was really weird. They like went through the closet and there was like a jump gate. And they took me to a facility and I'm not sure if it was Montauk, but it was definitely like everything I know about Montauk. Like it had that, like it had cages with animals that were like hybrid. I saw them using me, cloning me there, but also using my DNA for the hybrid breeding program. I also have an out of body experience about that too.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about Montauk? Like what do you remember about it?
So I don't know if it was like Montauk, but I remember they would one time I was in a room and I it was empty except this wooden chair, but the wooden chair was like painted yellow. And I remember I saw Dr. Flamant and she came in and she was like staring at my eyes and like examining my eyes. And they left me alone in there for a really long time. And then finally came out and got me and took me just to experiment and do experiments and stuff like that.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Hold on a second. So do you feel like, have you ever like talked to your parents, that is, if they're still alive, that you might have been involved in these projects, and what would have been their reaction, or maybe any other family members?
Yeah, I'm very open. I tell my family everything. I don't think they really care. They don't really understand it. My mom said, "Yeah, I believe that you believe that, honey." um, she also noticed weird things about her family, and so it got her thinking. She remembers her mom, her biological mom. Oh, I forgot about this. Was 15 and ran away and joined a cult. And then her mother, so my mom's grandmother, some men showed up at her door and said, "Hey, your daughter is in a cult. You need to come get her." And so my grandmother did. And when my grandmother, sorry, it's hard because my mom was actually adopted to her grandmother. So my grandmother is actually my great grandmother. So it's confusing. Anyway, when my grandmother came back from the cult, she was pregnant with my mom, and she didn't want her, so she gave her to her mom. So yeah, sorry, I don't know if that answered your question. I forgot what your question
Oh,
was.
wow. Yeah, me too. So, Nicole, um, do you know what Project Surrogate is? And if you go ahead.
Yes, thanks to your book. Thank you. I hadn't heard of it before, but I don't know a lot about it. Like you know more. Yeah, could you tell me a
Sure.
little bit more about
Well,
that?
well, for starters, do you feel like you're even related to your family?
No, no, I'm so different.
Right. Have you tried to remote view it to see? Okay.
No.
All right. Um, well, wow. So yeah, I would a lot of us that are in these programs were inserted into a surrogate family to raise us so that they could more like handle more than I mean, I guess there was some nurturing involved in all that. It's not like they totally don't care, but yeah, essentially be curious to look more into that. So um wow, okay, so Montauk, they were, yeah, so they were, you were going through portals, and do you do you have any other memories of, say, like levitating as a child, or yeah, go ahead.
No, um, I do remember. So I grew up out in the country, and there's all these fields around, and there was this old barn, and my friend and I used to go, and uh, we just used to go exploring in the forest and the fields all the time. I remember one time in the old barn, we found a bird, like a dead bird, and I remember holding it, and I was kind of like just gently stroking it, and it came back to life. So I don't know for sure if I brought it back to life or I healed it, or I don't know. I don't know, but I do remember that was really cool.
Wow. Okay. So let's go on. Yeah. So later on, so I guess at the age of 14, they did it to you again. And so why don't you describe what was happening and they brought you into that facility again?
um, so I was just having kind of relapses. Like oh my god, they put me on so much medication, and I hated it. I didn't want to. I got really depressed, and I tried to take my own life again. And I ended up going to the hospital and getting my stomach pumped, and then they're like, "Yeah, you need to go back to the mental hospital." So they brought me back. Um, yeah, it was all involuntary when you're a kid. So yeah.
I guess your parents were okay with that because it was one less problem for them to deal with.
Yeah, and they didn't know what to do. Like, they didn't know. Like, they mental health. This was back in like the early 2000s, and mental health wasn't really a big thing. It was just starting to get talked about, but it was taboo for a really long time. And my parents never suffered anything, maybe a little anxiety or depression here and there, but they didn't have it as bad as me. They didn't know anything about mental health, and they didn't know what to do. So they just took me to my doctor and listened to my doctor when he said she needs to be committed.
Have you ever witnessed your mother switching into an altar or your father?
That's a good question. I never really thought about that. I don't know. Like, yeah, sometimes they'd have a temper. I don't know if that's an altar though. I don't know.
Okay. Wow. Well, let's just I guess let's move on here. So what's the next weird thing that happened in your life after that?
I just had a really traumatic life. Like everything you could think of. I got addicted to drugs. Um, I was with so many abusive boyfriends. I got a job and I worked my way up. It was a retail job, and started getting invited to parties, which were full of orgies and drugs and really grotesque stuff. I just wasn't interested. Like, it was kind of a boys' club, and I was excited to be invited into the boys' club. So I went along with it for a while, like go to strip clubs with them and stuff. But I didn't like it. I'm like, this isn't me. I couldn't do it. And so I started backing away. And because I knew all their secrets, because they all had wives and kids, and I would witness them having orgies and, stuff like that with escorts and strip clubs. And I started pulling away. I didn't want to keep living that lifestyle. And so they all turned on me and they started harassing me and picking on me and getting me in trouble at work for like the stupidest things. They'd give me like impossible workloads. Like, they were trying to make me quit, basically. And then I finally did, because I just couldn't handle the harassment anymore. I was in car accidents. I was attacked by a dog, a pit bull. Uh, oh my God, like pretty much everything, every trauma you could think of. Yeah.
Well, throughout the years of the people I've interviewed, I've noticed a certain pattern. There's a program called aftercare, and aftercare is basically a way of them always handling you after your service is complete. So if you have committed a lot of crimes that, from their perspective, like didn't follow through the programming, you were rebellious, you might have blew up, let's say a crime, like blew up one of their ships or something before they discharge you. So when you would be returned back, your life would be full of a lot of traumas, usually a lot of financial hardships. So do you feel that might describe you?
Yes. And yeah, because I always thought how weird it was that all this bad stuff was like attracted to me, like I tried so hard to change my life around. Like, I tried so hard to stay away from certain people. I even moved to another province to get away from drugs, get away from toxic people, abusive people. Like, I tried so hard to change my life. and I just kept getting knocked down. Like all these weird too, like car accidents out of nowhere, like weird injuries. I've had to have a bunch of surgeries. Like, yeah, it's like they kept knocking me down. And I also heard that of MK Ultra victims, to keep them, they have to constantly reprogram them throughout their lives. And the best way to reprogram and reinforce the alters is to traumatize them. So
that's why they wanted you to continue being at those parties, because that was reinforcing that certain trauma mind control programming within your own aspect. Okay. So tell us, at what point did I guess you had your own self awakening? Yeah, tell us a bit about that.
yeah, so I was in an abusive relationship. I would usually leave like the third time. Like I only gave them 3 chances, and I would leave. But this last guy, I kind of gave up. I said, you know what? They're all abusive. Everyone I know in a relationship is miserable. Like my aunt would constantly bitch to me about her partner, and my sister would bitch about her husband, and my mom would bitch. So I'm like, you know what? Every relationship is miserable. Maybe I'll just deal with it. And then one night we were drinking and decided to go get more. And so we used the back roads, and it was pitch black. It was February in Canada. So it was really cold. I didn't dress for the weather. um, and I had PTSD from the car accident, 2 car accidents. And he knew that. And we started fighting, and he was screaming at me, yelling at me. He was driving, and he started driving like an idiot, like swerving all over the road, slamming on the brakes, like everything to terrify me, because he knew I had PTSD. And I just screamed like, stop, stop, stop. And I jumped out of the truck, and he took off, and I was alone in the middle of nowhere. It was pitch black. And I could hear like the coyotes. And I had no idea where I was. And I'm like, I have to start walking. Like it's free. It's like minus 29, like Celsius. Like I'm going to die, you know? So I just started walking. The only way I could tell I was even on the road was because of the snowbanks. I couldn't even see anything. It was pitch black. And anyway, I just started walking, and I started walking and walking. And then all of a sudden I felt this like warmth, like just came in through my head. And it just like, I don't know, it was so loving. And it was like this voice just said, you're going to be okay. And yeah, and I kept walking. And honestly, I don't remember the whole trip. When I traced it later, like a few days later, I figured out where approximately I was. And it was 12 kilometers that I walked. And I walked back to his place because I was living with him. And he said that he drove around looking for me, and I believe him, but he could not find me. He said he could not find me at all. And I don't even remember the whole walk. Like I remember that, and I remember this. Like I just remember pieces of it. I remember getting into the house, and then I just took a bath and went to bed. And I remember trying to sleep, and with my eyes closed, I just started seeing all these psychedelics. I'm like, okay, I know I'm not on drugs. I was drinking, yeah, but like I didn't take any psychedelics. And I just were seeing like all these fractals and all these patterns, and I just had this loving, like just beautiful feeling. And then the next day, like when I woke up, I was a completely different person. All my anxiety was gone. My depression was gone. I had like chronic pain. I still kind of have chronic pain, but it was gone. I just I wanted to meditate. Like I was obsessed with meditation. I wanted to get into yoga. I got Gaia TV. I like binge watched Gaia, but like I just wanted to sit and do nothing. Like I quit my addictions except for vaping. But and I remember I just had this overwhelming urge to like get on the floor and like undulate. Like I had to like, my spine just wanted to like move. I had to move. And I did. And I stopped caring what people thought about me. I even had Jesus appear to me in my mind's eye. And he did like light language stuff, and like there was colors, and it's like I started seeing sacred geometry and everything. My skills, like my psychic abilities, just enhanced, and yeah, it was beautiful. A lot of people are like scared of Kundalini, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so scary! Don't do it." But like mine was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Wow. So Nicole, do you think that that was your altar that kind of took over and put you in autopilot to save your life, or was it maybe higher beings? Could be your spirit guides, or maybe you're probably like an ET soul, or your star family. What do you think might have saved your life?
Yes, I think my higher self for sure was the one that spoke to me and said, "You're going to be okay." And I think my star family may have picked me up and wiped the memories, but activated something within me. I definitely feel higher self and star family.
Okay. So has anyone remote viewed your future to see why they're targeting you so much? What do you think it might be?
No, 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 I don't know. Okay, so yeah, I'll just tell it now. Um, I had a telepathic transmission. So it was just last year. I was sleeping and I woke up to a voice in my head, and it was a woman, like a woman's voice. And she said, "Hi, I'm Mira from the High Council. A mission if you choose to accept it." And then it was something like, I don't know, a plant under a stairwell. And I was so excited that this was happening that um, I didn't really listen that well. Like I should have listened with my heart. I was trying to listen with my mind. So I didn't get like everything she said. But then, so she stopped talking. It was like maybe 15 seconds. And then she stopped talking. And then a male's voice came on and he said, "Initiate music." And then about 30 seconds of a song played. And I didn't recognize the song, but it definitely sounded like from Earth, like a 70s or 80s song. I don't know. I didn't recognize it. But, and then it ended. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell was that? Like, that's crazy. And so I did under hypnosis. I asked about that. Like, what was that all about? And I kept getting the word test. It was a test. And that I was going to need that in the future, that in the future, star seeds and super soldiers are going to be in contact with their star families and their teams, you know. And yeah, I can only speculate, but I think that sometime in the future, um, we're going to have constant communication. Maybe we'll have missions. We'll have jobs. They'll be like, "Hey, this mission, if you choose to accept it, like, go do that," and stuff like that. Of course, we'll have like abilities when that happens. But
Interesting. Are you see, I have to be very careful what to say because this is going on the boo tube. But essentially there's a word that what happens when a car is sitting in. Yes, that. Do you feel like you might be involved in maybe putting a book together about that to help other people? What do you think about that?
wait, wait, I didn't
Oh my
understand.
God, they're gonna Traffic.
T- oh yeah.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Okay.
So, what
Sorry.
do you think? Do you think you should put together a book about that? Are you think about it?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that is really close to my heart because um I was taken out of body and I was at a party, a Hollywood party. I was a very, very small, like 4 or 5 years old, and I was naked and I came out of the room. Um, and I was starving, but I wasn't allowed to eat. But I said, screw it, like I'm gonna go eat anyway. And there was a table with food on it, and Jason Bateman, okay, he was there. Um, and he saw me and going to get food, and but he let me, he could have got me in trouble, but he didn't. And so I ate a bunch of food, and then there was an old man with white hair on the couch, and he was like looking at me, and I knew what had to happen. And then him and I went to the bedroom, and thank God it ended there. But yes, so that's really close to my heart. I really, really do want to see that come to an end. I also had a very, very, very vivid dream. I think this was a memory. This was so vivid that I was actually put in a male body. So I was a man and I was infiltrating a ring. Okay. And a guy had bought a little boy and I was like playing, I was undercover. Okay. And we had gone up to a hotel room and I wasn't supposed to blow my cover, but I lost it, and I did, and I just killed that guy right then and there. I slit his throat. It was actually one of those saws. I forget what they're called. They're called a hand saw, and like it's just a string like that. And I had one of those, and I killed him, and then I took the boy out of there, and I ran, and I got in trouble because I blew my cover, and I wasn't supposed to yet. But yeah.
So let's go back to the time that they took you. Do you think maybe it might have been the Black Ops people and they just gave you a Kundalini reactivation to kind of cover up the reprogramming? They must have used you again.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I do feel like the Kundalini was a good thing. I have had positive ET experiences with Star Family and my team, and I don't believe it's all everything that happened to me was evil. I believe that there were some good things.
All
Yeah.
right. How about some other any other experiences that you would like to share? Maybe maybe some kind of evidence of you being taken.
Well, I don't really have like evidence other than just waking up. I do have needle marks. I have oh yeah, okay. When I was writing my book and I went I actually did a podcast with a Typical Skeptic, Rob from Typical Skeptic, and like the day was a couple days before that, and I was almost done my book, ready to publish it. And I was getting massively attacked. Like I had like vertigo, like head pressure, chest pressure. Oh, I just felt awful. And I woke up and the whole bridge of my nose and under my eyes was extremely sore and tender, like so sore I couldn't even touch it. Now there were no bruises, but I felt like I got beat up. Like I got the shit beat out of me. I was so tender for like a week all around here. Like I had been, yeah. But they didn't leave any marks, so I didn't take any pictures or anything like that. Yeah.
Do you have any idea why they would try to kill you?
They don't want me speaking out. They don't want me talking. Yeah.
Well, thank you for surviving that. There have been times where I've woken up and I have like a huge bruise on my back, and somebody, a psychic, remote viewed it and said it was like the backside of a gun, like somebody banged into me. I wasn't cooperative, anyway, so yeah. Wow. So do you have any other examples of kind of weird things like maybe how about this missing time? Do you have any missing time?
Yeah, I have quite a bit. A lot of it driving, and I know that there's a thing called oh my god, I forget what it's called. Hypnotic something when you're driving.
NLP, neural
Uh,
linguistic.
no, it's like it's when you're driving and you're zoned out, and then you get to your destination, and you're like, oh, how did I get here? So I had like a ton of that. Um, yeah, and then there's I don't know. My childhood is just really PC. Like there's not. I don't really remember too much about my childhood. Um, yeah, yeah.
Do you ever have any precognitive abilities?
Yes, but not. I wish they were sharper and more better. They kind of just happen like randomly. Um, yeah, it's just kind of random. A download. I can't really control it.
Oh wow. Do you have any? Could you give us any examples of some of your abilities?
I knew that. Okay, I knew that Anna Nicole Smith was gonna die before she died. Um, just things like that, like just totally random. Doesn't really affect my life, but like I'll just get this inner knowing, like, oh, this is gonna happen, and then it does. Yeah. Sorry. Any other abilities you said? Just psychic, like clairsentient. Yeah, clairvoyant a little bit. I wish I had more. I wish I had like telekinesis and teleportation, but I don't.
Okay, how about this? Do you remember working, for instance, maybe for like say Nachtwaffen as a pilot? And do you have any memories working for the Germans at all?
No, um, no. I don't really know the factions that I was a part of.
Well, it definitely looks like Monarch.
Yeah.
Probably Nachtwaffen. I think you did say Kruger earlier. What can you tell us about that?
Oh yeah, and Mars Defense Force. I do remember being on Mars. I was like, I think it was a clone of mine because my whole arm was like cybernetic and I had like enhancements and stuff like that. Um, and we were like fighting underground in these tunnels. And yeah, that was just like a really brief one. Um, Definitely Monarch. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Do you have memories? Sorry, memories of say fighting spiders, or maybe like a horrible phobia towards spiders.
So there was ants. I do remember like giant ants. Um, and I remember the worms on Mars, like really big worms. They were harmless, like they didn't. I don't know, but they were huge, and I was kind of creeped out about worms. But um, yeah,
Nicole, do you have a fascination with airplanes or planes in generals? Uh, yeah, do you have like a pilot's license or anything like that, or wanted
um,
to?
I love flying. I love flying. I'm just like I mean, I can't fly. I'm not a pilot, but in this life, but I just love being up in the air. I did have a remote viewer say that I was a navigator for Darkfleet, but I don't have any like personal memories of that. That was just what a remote viewer told me.
Okay, wow. So, in the Mars Defense Force, do you remember? So you were embedded in a team of other super soldiers, I'm guessing,
Mhm.
correct? Do you have enough recall to know what you look like?
No, I didn't really look at myself. Um, I just knew I was half like biological and half like cybernetic, and I was female. I felt female. Yeah, I don't know. I could have been androgynous. I don't know, but
Interesting. So the males were about 7 to 8 feet tall, and females were about 6.5, 6 foot, 6 foot and a half. So yeah, they were about 300 pounds, and yeah, they were all pretty much genetically engineered to do that task, the elite version. But they use a lot of what they call fodder. Yeah, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, do you have any other recalls about Mar? How about this? Do you remember the colors of the logo?
no, no, I don't. Um, yeah.
Because I had it drawn some. I think it was, but I think that was actually the Kruger because I was also embedded with Kruger. It was like a gold color logo, and it actually kind of circled up like that.
Oh,
But well, let's see here. So what else could you tell us about Mars? Any other memories you could share?
no, I can't. Sorry. Um, I do. I could share my some of my out of body experiences.
Okay, so tell us how that felt.
Um, okay, so okay, I'm gonna name drop some celebrities here. Um, I just gotta give a little backstory on this. So, the whole sovereignty thing. I hate calling it that, but the postmaster, like Russell J. Gould stuff. Um, so that gets you out of the birth certificate system. Postmasters are overseers and overlords of contracts and stuff like that. So I really wanted to do that. I felt a huge push to do that, and I did. And then I joined this group, this like study group, and I kind of asked them, I'm like, hey, like I got this, but I got it through a third party. So I didn't go directly to the website. I went to another guy and I'm like, hey, is this all right? Is this fine? And this guy got back to me. He's like, well, actually, you need a bridge pass. So I had to go on the website, get a bridge pass. So it wasn't finalized. Like my separation from the birth certificate system wasn't quite finalized yet. And I got the bridge pass and it said it'll take you a week before it goes through. During that week, I fell asleep. I woke up. I was in the Astral, and Obama was there. There was 3 guys. Okay, one of them, his energy signature, like it was Obama, and the 2 other guys I couldn't really see. They were kind of like blacked out, but it was so negative. Like it was just so evil. Like the feeling, I don't know. I was really creeped out. I felt like they were gonna kill me or do something to me. Like it just it didn't feel good. So I'm like, oh, I want to get out of here. I got back in my body and I woke up in my room. And then of course I regretted it. Like I'm like, damn it, like why didn't I stay? Like I should have stayed longer. I should have like listened to them. I should have found out what was going on, who the other 2 guys were. So as luck would have it, I actually had a hypnosis session like 2 days after that happened with Angie Dollar. She's been on your show. And so I went under and I'm like, I want to know about that. So what I saw was, yeah, it was definitely Obama. The other guy, he was more of like an assistant, and he was kind of shorter. He had red hair. He looked about in his 30s, and he had red hair that was kind of like on his face, like kind of slicked to his face. And then the other guy was an Arab. He was an Arab guy. He had like the headdress and the white dress and stuff like that. And they were talking about me and like ownership. And the Arab guy was like, he just kind of like went like this with his hand and said, she's too much trouble. Yeah, so I thought that was like super interesting. Super interesting.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Nicole. Here's I usually don't. Sometimes I ask this question, but I'm going to just throw it out there. And I feel like you probably know the answer to it. Do you think we may have known each other in the Mars Defense Force? What do you think? Using your intuition, what would you say?
I think yes. Actually, when I first found Super Soldier Talk, I don't know, there was something about you that I'm like, I think I recognize him, but I haven't had any memories. I should do another like hypnosis or remote view and find out. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like such a genuineness coming from you, and I don't know, kind of like a recognition, but I haven't had any memories as of yet.
Right. Yeah, we've had another guest come on here who was talking about Barry Cerrito and basically being taken to Mars and all that. So it's quite fascinating. So it does look like these people have access to these programs, and there is jump room, what they call ARCs, the aeronautical repositioning chambers. So I did get that one right this time. So yeah, interesting. And the people on Mars, or at least the super soldiers, are pretty much kept in the dark. That's what if you were to remote view the state of consciousness of these people, we find maybe the upper echelons might know that planet Earth still exists, but everybody else is kept in the dark. Wow. Okay. So where should we take this conversation next?
I want to talk about Max Spears. So absolutely. I had an out of body experience with him when I want to bring it up because he's been coming up a lot lately. There's even like a couple of TikTok channels that are posting like clips from his interviews and stuff. And you channeled him too a little while ago. That
was some my friend. I want to mention that, but they didn't want to become public because the nature of the channel message was somewhat criticizing someone or some people. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please. Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, so there was a message, and if you want, I can post the link in the description so you can read it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want me to tell my thing?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Um, so I had a hypnosis with Angie, and it was insane because that very night, actually, I got woken up by my cat. And, I let him outside because he likes waking me up at 4 a.m. And I went back to bed, and I was trying to fall asleep, and I felt that that feeling like when you're about to leave your body feels super heavy, and all the cells start vibrating in your body and like buzzing, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have an out of body. This is cool because I try and I can't, so it just like happens that I believe my higher self or my star family is pulling me out because I've never been able to really do it on my own. But anyway, I got pulled out, and this was crazy. So this has never happened before. I was in this different dimension, and it was like Alice in Wonderland. Like that's what it reminded me of. And I know there's a connection with MK Ultra and Alice in Wonderland, but it like everything I was seeing was just like that. And there was even like a caterpillar, like a giant caterpillar. It was huge, and it came up to me. It was on a big rock, and I remember sticking my finger in its mouth. I don't know why I did that. And it closed, and I like pulled my finger out slowly. I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool. And I was just like, I don't know, it's so cool. And then instantly I was transported to a scene of, well, there's one of me on a ship, and I was like pulled up there, I guess, as a child, and they were like healing me. And then they kept coming, like I was a kid, but they were like Palladians coming up to me and kind of talking to me and talking to each other and looking like kind of examining me. And then I was transported to another scene of being in a very futuristic hospital. I was a kid. I was on the bed. There was Dr. Flamand, that psychopharmacologist, and she was in a white lab coat, but she looked younger. She looked like in her 20s. And then there was a man there, and they were talking about me. And then she came and pulled me, and we went into this glass like hallway thing that was kind of, I knew it was like invisible from the outside. It was really high up in a building. That scene happened really fast. And then I was in another scene. I was witnessing myself as a child. I was like 11, 12 years old. I was lying in like a hospital bed. This hospital room was different than the other one I was in. And Max Spears comes into the room, and I knew it was him from his energy signature, but the 11-year-old me was like, who are you? Who are you? And he said, I'm your higher self, and laughed like he was joking. But then I instantly knew that his name was Luke, and he had an Irish accent. And obviously in real life, Max Spears does not. He's British. But in this experience, like out of body, he had an Irish accent. His name was Luke. So I don't know if that was a clone of him or an alter of his. I'm not sure. But he put an X-ray up on the wall, and it looked just like a kind of a human fetus. And he said, congratulations, you're pregnant. We're not sure what it is, but we're excited to find out. Yeah, and then that scene ended. So yeah, I did have an experience with him.
Oh wow. Okay, so why do you have any ideas why you think he might be reaching out to you? Was this after I guess after he died, right?
Yes. Well, I don't know, like the experience, I don't know, it happened when I was 11. I was just like witnessing myself, but yeah, this just happened in December of 2023. And then so I had another hypnosis session because I wanted to know more about I being pulled out of my body and witnessing these things. I'm like, and I only got little clips, I didn't get like the full story. And Max Spears did come through, and when I was under hypnosis, and he said that he was still fighting, like he was still working to take these programs down. he mentioned his mom and sister, which was really interesting because I did not know he had a sister. I just recently watched Typical Skeptic podcast, and Rob interviewed Max Spears' his mother, and she talked about her daughter, and I'm like, oh my god, like, okay, that's confirmation because I didn't know he had a sister. But yeah, he just said that he was helping to wake people up, and he was helping to he's still fighting. He's still fighting to take down the programs.
Wow. You know what? I feel like I should probably just go ahead and I'll read a few clips of this message. Since just give me a moment, guys. Make it. I won't read all of it, just some of it. Okay? Is that okay with you? If you don't mind? Okay.
Go for it.
I'm gonna skip the parts where he starts criticizing. So just to keep everything here on the more high vibration level, as Max would say. So hold on a second. Okay. Let's see here. Good day, everyone. This is Max Spears. I'm in spirit now. I'm still fighting for truth and justice and for my friends. I'm sorry to see that a lot of you have forgotten what it means to be a soldier and how we can respond when another comrade needs help. You should all be ashamed of yourselves because I am. I'll be looking after those who I know are my friends and helping them any way I can. James, thank God we met. It was a miracle it happened. It's good to see you. I think you're looking great now. I regret we didn't do our interview together when I was alive. There was massive interference at the time to prevent it from happening. We are brothers, you and I, in every sense of the word. We served together, we bled together, and we were at Montauk together. You are the more mature one, haha. If we hadn't met, mate, there wouldn't have been disclosure. I would have died without a name, and they would have buried the SSP topic. If you ever get to meet my mom, please hug her. So let's see here. Hold on a second. I'm going to be skipping some of this. A lot of people always consider my death very suspicious with a lot of unanswered questions. It's true. I was murdered, and this is an account of what happened. I thought I was taking speed to get a euphoric high, but I had an anesthetic instead, and I wasn't expecting that. I couldn't breathe, and it blocked my arteries. I was paralyzed, and a black op team of super soldiers entered the house where they put black goo down my throat to make sure my organs would not restart. I left my body immediately, and those fuckers were into capturing my soul. I had to act quick. I got out just in the nick of time. Drugs cannot kill a super soldier. It was the black goo. My friend found my body in the morning with black goo coming out of it. 4 days later, they took my deceased body, placed it in stasis in an underground facility in Mars. My original body then switched with the younger clone and they had on hand, and that's what was cremated. I cannot share anymore. Okay, let's see here. Hold on a second. It says here, I am not at rest. I'm not at peace. I'm fucking pissed. I see super soldiers, my friends, getting milab tortured and time displaced to be used in all these fucking off-planet programs, and I'm sick of it. They are using us. They need us to be stopped. All of them. I'm not sitting in some goddamn cemetery on a park bench in heaven. I'm in spirit. I have no fucking body. I can't physically fight these wankers, fucking cowards, and other super soldiers taking people out of their beds, drugging them and dragging them to underground bases. I've watched them take people to facilities. When they take one of my old comrades, I make sure to follow them wherever they're taking them so I can observe and see what they're doing. On many missions, they try to stun and trap my soul with their electromagnetic pulse weapons, but I always manage to escape. They don't like spying on me, but I don't care. They can kick my ass. I've followed you, James, hundreds of times. Sorry I lost count, mate. The Greys are stealing your DNA on a constant basis because your DNA is mutating, and you are one of the most most advanced souls in the galaxy. Your tissue samples are placed into a biomechanical computer that replicates your DNA in order to profit from the sale of new clones. They are using us super soldiers for their army to fight their wars of other races and to take over planets that don't belong to them. I think people need to band together and storm the bases to get our people out. Okay. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. I'm going to skip some of this. I hope you don't mind. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's talking about other channelers. So we're going to skip this other one. Okay. Lastly, I've been doing recon, going into underground bases, watching the satellites being knocked out. There's going to be invasion in the USA. The Anunnaki are going to invade. War everywhere, east to west coast. It might start with a high-altitude pulse weapon, cyber attack, and the country involved will be blamed. The people invading the border are sleepers, and they know exactly what they're supposed to do, targeting the power stations, auto factories, agriculture facilities. They want to burn everything. They want to blame Russia and China, but it's people within the USA, and it'll be timed with cyber attacks. They would do something to make people think they need radiation pills, and they will take it, but these pills are contaminated with toxins and black goo to control people at the same time. They want to herd people into 3 places in the USA, one out east and then west and central. Okay, I can't say that word because we're on YouTube. All this is happening in less. Yeah, just read the thing. All this has happened in less than 3 months. I want to take this opportunity to thank James for honoring my memory and taking the time to transcribe accurately what I'm saying from my perspective, my mind, and my heart. Thank you, James, my brother. Big bro hug. He's like, hold on a second. He's like banging into my.
Muted.
Oh, what?
Sorry.
Was I muted the whole time?
No. Just the very last part. Just the very last part.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm trying to, yeah. Well, that would really suck if it was, but I'm hoping you enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was amazing. Oh my God. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I forgot in my hypnosis, he told me it was murdered. I think that's pretty common knowledge. Like everyone knows that he's definitely murdered. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Do you think you might have known Max?
Oh, I definitely know that I did. Because I saw myself with him.
Served with him. Yeah, served with him.
Yeah. But that's the only memory that I have right now. I guess, I don't know. I was a child. I was in some breeding program. And he was there. Yeah.
Do you think you might have dated him?
I don't know. I have a lot of memories of being a sex spy and assassin. And I had a couple of really vivid dreams about politicians like me. Yeah.
So tell us about what happened with the politicians.
I was basically there to get them to disclose information. Something about, I don't really understand how it works, but something about sleeping with them, you exchange energy. So I didn't even really need them to talk. I just needed to have sex with them. Yeah. Yeah. One of them's still in power, and I freaking hate his guts, and I can't even like watch him. But yeah, it's the Canadian Prime Minister. I don't even want to talk about these memories because they're just ugh. But
you think he keeps like monarchs around him where he uses them for sex and?
Yeah, I think he was from the time of a child, because his father was actually also a prime minister of Canada, and that's when Canada started going really downhill. And he was Pierre Trudeau was a part of the Committee of 300. He was an evil dude, and he really sold out Canada. And I think that the current prime minister is groomed. I think he was groomed from the time he was a child. I think he was also MK Ultra, and yeah, in the Project Talent too, because they knew he was going to be prime minister one day and finish what his father started. They knew that he was going to be a part of it. So that's why he was a drama teacher too. Like he's got experience in acting and stuff like that. And I think they found him because he was part of the bloodlines, but I still fucking hate him.
Nicole, do you remember, do you have like photographic memory where you would be used as like an information courier?
So actually, when I was a child, I did have a photographic memory. That's like a real life memory. But I lost it somewhere along the way.
Okay. Wow. Let's see here. Let me go pull up your bio. So let's see here. You've had numerous memories flood back. Okay. Out of body experiences. Do you want to talk about any of the other out of body experiences or memories?
Yeah. So this one just happened very recently, actually. It came back in vivid dream form, and like, a vivid dream is not just a regular dream, because vivid dreams, they play like movies, they're so memorable, like you still remember them years later. The emotions too stick with you for like days. So I had this, and I believe it's a clone of mine. But I was like a detective, okay? And there was an escapee, like a super soldier. It was a woman, and she had escaped, and my job was to track her down. And because of my past of being like a sex spy and sex assassin, so this escapee, she was actually like a lesbian. So it was my job to go undercover, befriend her, start a relationship with her, and get her back. And I did that, and I ended up developing feelings for her. And but then she figured it out and took off. So I kind of like lost her. But then like some time had went by, and then she was spotted out in this desert. And there was like a few buildings, but it was like a desert. And she was hiding at one of those buildings. So I kind of went in with a team, but the team spread out and they were like surrounding the area. Uh, she wasn't supposed to see it. She like we didn't want her to see them, just me. So I went in, and it kind of confirmed. I could tell she was like, "Yep." She's like, "I knew it. I knew it. I knew you were after me. I knew this was, a fake relationship and stuff like that." And I tried to tell her like I did have feelings for you, and like I do kind of care about you and stuff like that. But we ended up fighting, like fist fighting and all that stuff. And I found out she was super strong, and I was super strong. I ended up finally cuffing her, and she was still trying to get away. And I lied to her, and I said, I have 50,000 men out here looking for you. Or sorry, no, I said 5,000. I have 5,000 men out here. But I knew I only had 50 guys. But I lied to her for some reason. And I said, like, even if you get away, like, we're going to get you and stuff like that. Okay. Here's the good part. So these vehicles came. So my team showed up, my supervisor showed up, and the vehicles they're so weird. They were so hard to describe. They kind of look like a mix between army vehicles that you would see nowadays and that Tesla Cybertruck. Like they were so weird. I've never seen a vehicle like that ever. But a bunch of them pull up. They're my team. My boss comes out and congratulates me. And he said that her owner is here to take her back. And so her owner got out of a vehicle, and it was Prince Charles. And he was surrounded by bodyguards. And I, from being undercover in the real world, and probably me, like in this life, I had started, maybe these memories were bleeding through to this clone. I don't know. But I, in this vivid dream, started screaming at Prince Charles, calling him a pedo. And I was like, you're evil, you're a psychopath. And I'm like, the only thing I don't know is if you're a reptilian. And I don't know that for sure. And he looked at me and he smiled, like he smirked at me. And then my boss came and grabbed me and started reprimanding me. And he's like, how dare you? What are you doing? Like, you can't do that. And he was really mad. But the whole time my boss is yelling at me, I'm thinking in my head, like, how am I going to save her? Like, I just did this to her. I need to get her out. She's just like me. She was, tortured. And now they're going to bring her back to the palace or wherever. And so I started thinking about ways that I could rescue her. Either like stopping this convoy of vehicles, or I would wait until she was at the palace, find out where she was, and save her that way. And then, so my boss is yelling at me. I'm thinking like, I need to save her, but I can't do it right now because there's all these people. And I'm like, okay, I'll have to wait. And then my boss told me to go get in the vehicle. So I got in another vehicle, and then like a coworker, I guess, my partner, it was a dude. He come into the back seat and kind of giving me shit, and he's like, you can't do that and stuff like that. And in my mind, I was having an awakening, and I thought, what if I'm not a good guy? Like, what if I'm not working for the good guys? And so I started having these like awakening thoughts. Yeah. And then that dream ended, and I woke up, and for days, like I could, the feelings, the emotions were so strong for days. Yeah.
So it seems like you were on some kind of protection detail for VIPs. Maybe it was through Kruger, or Monarch. So yeah, it seems like that person was innocent. Yeah. Do you have any other memories of doing protection detail, security? What do you think, Nicole?
No, just that one for right now.
All right. Any other SSP related memories you would like to share?
I think I share a lot. Yeah, they're just starting to come back like since fall of 2023. I know there'll be more in the future for sure.
Okay. So you want to tell us a little bit more about what your book is about?
Yeah, so the first half is just some of the like dramas that I went through my early life. And then the second section is about all my paranormal experiences, my ET contacts, just really vivid dreams. I had a near death like experience. I didn't actually die that I know of, but just supernatural and ET stuff. And then the last section of the book is how I woke up to secret space program memories. So I think that will really help people, especially people that are just waking up, just coming to terms, with it. I hope my book activates people like your book did for me. And yeah, and then at the back, I included like a bunch of helpful resources and stuff like that.
Thank you. I read the foreword, so you did name drop me. I appreciate it. Um, it makes sense since we probably served together. But yeah, so tell us a bit about what is your second book going to be about, if you can tell us.
So I've already been having more experiences. Uh, saw a bunch of stuff in the meditation. I had this, yeah, I don't know. It's a really quick story. I could tell it. Okay, so I'm living with my parents. Okay, because the housing market just sucks. And one night I was going to bed, and the dogs. My parents have two dogs, two golden retrievers, and one of them was like, oh my god, just like yelping and like, oh, I've never heard this dog. I've known him like his whole life, and the dog's never made that noise before. And I just felt creeped out, and so I got up, and my mom was out in the sunroom, and I wanted to see like, did you hear that? And she was already like standing up, like looking out the windows, and she was freaked out, and I'm like, what's going on? And then we looked out, and we saw my dad outside in the yard with a hammer. He was walking around the yard with a hammer because he heard something too. And uh, yeah, I'll just try to make it short. We asked him, like, what did you see? Because it was dark, but there was some moonlight. And he said that he saw like a giant freaking, like a dog, but it was like 4 times the size of a regular dog. He said it was super skinny. It took off and crossed the road, which is like from ditch to ditch is like 40 feet. He said this creature cleared it in 4 jumps. Um, and then I went to bed, and then a couple of weeks later I was hanging out with my dad, and I'm like, could you tell me more about this creature that you saw? And he didn't really have any more information. He just repeated like what he said. And then that night I did a meditation, and I tried to connect to this creature, and I fell asleep. I woke up, and there was like a bubble in my head, like a bubble in my mind, and I could hear the deep breathing, and I could hear like a growl, like as it's breathing, it's like growling. And it said hello. It said hello in this really deep, deep, growly voice. It said hello. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is so cool. I'm like, who are you? What's your name? Like, what are you? Like, I started trying to telepathically, like in my mind, asking a bunch of questions. It didn't answer me. This bubble like shrunk and went away. But then I fell back asleep again, and I woke up to this bubble in my head, but all I could hear was the breathing and the growling. It didn't actually say anything this time. So anyway, that just happened like a couple weeks ago. So that's going to be in my new book too.
Oh, your communications with the werewolf.
Yeah, maybe it was like a hellhound or something, like some kind of etheric dog. I don't know.
And was that actually in this physical dimension, or was it like an astral being?
It was in this physical dimension. I got the impression that it was like it could switch dimensions, like it was interdimensional, and it could be physical if it wanted, but then it could be, etheric as well.
Wow. So, Nicole, have you ever had any dreams or downloads of working with dolphins or the Dolphin Project Seagate?
No, no.
Do you feel a close connection with dolphins?
The water and oceans. I am obsessed with. Yes, all sea creatures. It's my dream to have a house on a lake or near an ocean, probably a lake though or a river. I've been obsessed with water my whole life.
Oh wow. Okay. Let's see here. I guess we can probably wrap this. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. All right. Well, then what I'll do is here. I'll just go through the chat, see if anyone has questions, and then we'll call it. So let's see here, because we were actually supposed to do this on Thursday, but I was doing so much work. I actually I missed my appointment, which I'm still kind of a little embarrassed about. It's been years since I last done that, so I do apologize. Well, I guess the audience doesn't know, but all right. Any predictions for the eclipse?
I think it's going to be an energetic shift. I think there probably will be a timeline shift, but it'll be so minute and like subtle that we probably won't notice a whole lot. But definitely something energetic. Yeah, and I wouldn't put it past the bad guys to do some kind of false flag thing. But
Right. Certainly, we have NASA shooting up some rockets. Apparently, what they're going to measure the light of the moon. Maybe they're going to take pictures of the I don't know. Would it be the dark side? I guess maybe it would be the dark. No, I don't know. It'd be the dark side of the moon. But let's see here. We've got reports that they're going to shut the cell phone towers down and make
CERN.
Oh yeah, that's right, CERN.
Yeah.
That's right. So, what do you think? What's that about CERN? What's going to
I think that they're trying to open the doors to other dimensions. I think they're trying to get into other dimensions, and yeah.
And supposedly like they're opening up portals to the hell realms where they're pulling up entities and trying to get information on what to do to survive the change because they're losing. And I do think that CERN also probably connects to future versions of the CERN. But Jimmy Payne says that when he was in the future, what he said what happened with CERN is an entity gets into that facility and creates a bloody mess. So it doesn't end well. Eventually, I guess they get the point and not turn it back on again. But well, I guess time will tell, right? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Go on other questions. I'm looking. It's mostly I would say I'll pretty much positive feedback. Oh, here's Mel. We got another question from you. Great. Okay. Are there other super soldiers across Canada?
Okay, that's one thing I wanted to ask you, James, and your audience. So I have seen a couple Canadians on your show, but I really haven't heard. Yeah, I don't really know any. I would like if anybody does know of any Canadians, if you could like leave it in the comments or email me. I also wanted to ask your audience too if you guys knew anything about the link between mental hospitals and like either MK Ultra or secret space program, because that's something that I really want to dive deeper into and want to research more. I haven't heard too many things about psychiatric hospitals, but
Okay, good question. So let's see here. Yeah, well, I think I did a show once on Project Top Hat. I think that's what it was called. It's been a long time. But essentially what we discussed is that they were taking prisoners and giving them a choice to be part of these experiments. Honestly, I don't know if choice is probably quotation marks, but I guess you could either be in prison for the rest of your life or you could join this experiment and then they would like convert them, shoot them up with injections to convert them into say like a werewolf. Right. And then they would release them into the wild to see what would happen. But yeah, or they would just send them off world or just do brutal, gruesome experiments. I guess some people might choose. I don't know. They probably didn't even know. But yeah, as far as like psych wards, I would say a lot of these medical facilities are hooked up to different underground facilities where there are projects like that with Monarch Solutions. I write about in my book about this orphanage in Tennessee where I was there, and they were essentially just experimenting on the children with different drugs that they would use in the secret space program or prep us for it. But the drugs just made us so sick that all we do is just throw up all day. And there were like demons inside the facility when I remote viewed it. So yeah, it does feel like a lot of these hospitals and medical complexes are just harnessing a lot of negative loosh. So yeah, it's usually it's a horrible place to die because a lot of souls get sucked up and put back into that matrix. If they die, a portal gets opened up. So yeah, anyway. What do you think about that, Nicole?
Yes, yeah, I definitely know that. Well, I know there's stuff going on at psychiatric hospitals, even regular hospitals too. Like, it's so sick. Like, this stuff needs to stop.
Okay. Well, according to G here, Ario goes in great detail about the White Hats that took over CERN and using it to connect to Earth Terra to bring in a new Golden Age timeline. Well, that would be great if it's true. Well, I guess we'll find out, right? We have hold on a second. We have Kusal Uch, who made a prediction that the ETs are going to show themselves April 16th. So that's really close by, I guess. For people in the future who are watching this, like, oh, well, obviously that didn't happen, or maybe it did happen. We'll have something fun to talk about in the future, but we'll find out soon enough, and then we'll get hopefully, yeah, I think we'll have a really good positive timeline. All right, Nicole. So shall we wrap it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all for listening to the show. If you want to learn about the work I do, you can get a copy of my book called Lone Wolf at Neological Tech. You can also purchase a meditation cube to put this on your lap. So I use my cube about 30 minutes a day, and I have like different crystals inside of it. Put on my lap, and you just activate it with your hand, and you just sit there and just meditate and just clear your mind and think about what you want. Because typically the way manifestation works is you would first of all, it would be based on the love of your heart, like the things that you love. So you need to love it first. And then you just see it as already existing, and then through the laws of magnetism, the reality magnetizes to what you want. So that's at neologicaltech.com. You can also make a donation to my 501c3 Healing Soul Survivors. I'm doing my own conference now, so it is go to click on the link to the timeline and disclosure thing, and yeah, it's really fun two-day beach thing, and we're gonna have a great time. So. Any other final words, Nicole?
No, just thank you so much for having me.
Oh, and yeah, get a copy of her book at Amazon. Thank you. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you all next time. It'll probably be a while before I be back on here, but I'm going to be out in LA doing presenting out there, and I'll love to see you. So until next time, much love and light to you all, and we'll all see you all later. Hold on a second, guys. I'm trying to click this button. It's all the way over here. Okay, here it is. Goodbye. Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.